Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey guys, today on Radio Bypass we are going to introduce a new to us band, probably new to you too, and I'm really excited about it. Joining us today we've got Nick and Chris from the band that I apparently screwed up a couple of weeks ago when I played their song, Posavant. Did I say that right, guys?
Yep, that's right. Posavant. All right.
Well, welcome to Radio Bypass, you guys. And
Thank
who's
you for
Nick
having
and
us.
who's Chris?
I'm Nick.
You're Nick.
Chris. Yeah.
All right. And this band, your first single, which I'm also going to have you pronounce,
Hamartia.
Thank you.
So our first single was Hamartia.
Very good. And we're going to play that at the end of our conversation here today. But I screwed the name of that up too. That's why I'm so happy to be talking to you guys so I can get everything straight. So you're new on my radar, but I love this track. And I like your description of your band, Alternaprog. I thought that was kind of a cool descriptor because that fits with what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But if I'm understanding everything correctly, and I want to hear your guys' story, every band's got one, it seems like it's the two of you are essentially the band. So give us your background a little bit and how the band's been together, I understand, since 2024. So tell us about you. Tell us about the band.
All right. So we grew up in a mixed household. My mother's side, she's Chinese, and my dad is American. So we grew up here in LA, and in that household, my mother wanted me to be a lawyer and a doctor or whatnot, like every Chinese mom. And my dad was an avid rocker like you. He was into all the good stuff. So we grew up listening to a lot of 70s rock music.
Nice.
And for whatever reason, the music side just won in us. I started playing drums when I was 6. And you mentioned you were friends with Carmine at Peace. And back like when I was little, we used to do a lot of television reality show stuff in China. And on one of the shows, I played a Vanilla Fudge cover.
Did you?
And that somehow got under Carmine's radar. And he helped me get my first cymbal endorsement. When I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old.
So he was the youngest endorsee for Pisces cymbals, which is
right.
Even though it's not Carmine's symbol, but he helped me get that endorsement. And I've just been, blessed to be a part of so much great music growing up. Nick and I, eventually we got out of the reality show, television show thing, and we started to play our own music. We wanted to make a band. And of course, we've been through so many phases. Like we were influenced by hard rock. Later on, we had our punk rock band. And then finally, towards last year, we developed Posavant. And this band it's a blend of all of our musical influences. And we want to make it a musical experience for our listeners so that we're not just coined under a subcategory of rock music. Mm-hmm. And Nick and I, both of us, were not fans of modern metal or modern rock. We feel that it's very processed and it's not lively. It doesn't feel passionate like the music we grew up listening to. So we tried to present music in 2026 in the most organic way possible. And what I mean by organic is not overusing technology. So like being disciplined with technology and just let the music do the talking. Don't try to process it by over auto-tuning vocals or over editing, snapping drums to the grid and stuff like that. We want music to be like our conversation. Just let it flow. Yeah, just let it flow like the good records back in the day. And if we were on a higher budget, we'd be recording with tape because I just love the warmth of that sound, and it's just that unfortunately, you have to make ends meet. So we're working on a limited budget, which is why, obviously we still use technology, if you understand what I mean.
Sure, absolutely. And there are some decent plugins if you want that tape sound that I found.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And how did you guys land on the band name?
Well, that's actually, again, we've had different band names, and if you know, like in the modern era of being in a band, like having a band name or coming up with a band name that no one else has is one of the hardest things to do.
For sure.
So we didn't want to have a band name that anyone else had, so we created our own word, Posavant. So essentially, what it is, it's two words: it's post and savant combined together. So what it means is when you become, like, for us, is like being in music, when music is your life, when you've dedicated your whole life to perfecting a certain craft. And that takes a lot of sacrifices in being a savant in something, right? So
Right.
being really good at something. And it's the process of when you've sacrificed a lot, you've gone through a lot, and you've become a savant. So that's like the experience after you've become it, you see the world in a different way. So the band is essentially the experience of becoming a savant. That's what it means. So post savant.
Yeah.
And we wanted the music to represent that. We wanted the music to be like, when people hear it, they hear something that isn't necessarily something you hear every day. It's an experience, and you hear it, and you can hear like the amount of work we put into our instruments, the music production, the songwriting, and all of it's an accumulation of a lot of work we've spent for many years.
All the tiny little
Yeah.
intricacies.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt Hamartia was the first song we wanted to release because we really felt that this song had a great blend of everything that we thought made the band unique. So this is the first song that we, again, like the band name Alternaprog. Again, like if you listen to the middle of the song, it's got all these time signature changes.
Yes.
And Chris is playing this guitar solo that's just completely different than anything. It's not writing on a pentatonic scale. It's not got a bunch of diminished scale. It's almost like a jazz fusion, like guitar solo, like a John McLaughlin thing, like a Alan Holdsworth thing. So it was meant to be like really unique. But then the first half of the song is like, it's like almost like a club song. It's like a dance music, something that's not very common in prog music. So that's why we have the name Alternaprog. It's like a blend of a lot of things.
Yes.
And we felt this song was a really good representation of the band. So that's why it was the first song we wanted to release.
Makes sense. So you think that's kind of your statement song in a way, that really represents what your vision is.
Yeah, we felt that we have other songs that we released. There's two more that we just released. One's called Untrend and the other one's called Other Side. And both of these songs are, again, if you hear the music, you can definitely hear a connection between the three songs. But each song is a different expression. It's completely different in terms of the style of the song. So we felt we wanted each song to be like a different experience. We didn't want, when people hear our band, like every song is similar, like a lot of bands.
We didn't want to be like AC/DC. If you like, you get the message like right away. We wanted to be more of like, we wanted to have the surprise element for our listeners. It's like we're capable of doing many things, and it goes back to our childhood because we were like a melting pot, Nick and I.
Yeah.
Like we were exposed to so many different types of music growing up,
Right.
and we also had a side of the Asian side, which was the tribal influences. That's where you're hearing a lot of these chants and these instruments that may not be well known here in the Western world, in the Western hemisphere. Mm-hmm. So like we wanted to add all of that into our music. It's like a musical journey. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's interesting because when you do that, it's definitely more risky than making an AC/DC song, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Harder to I think if you get a little, I don't know what the right term would be, but like out there a little bit, doing this melting pot kind of
out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I find that kind of stuff super interesting. It's definitely not anywhere near what you'd call mainstream or anything. So when you guys made that decision, in some ways you're probably limiting yourselves a little bit as far as your reach, right? But I love that because you're really truly there for the art. I really like that a lot.
Well, the thing is, it's really hard for us to sort of blend with society because we've had such a different upbringing, Nick and I. So like we don't try we feel like music has to be honest. Like whatever you present out there has to be something you believe in and something that you're very confident in. So for us to act like we're this Gen Z era would be us being posers. And that's the last thing I want with music. I'd want it to be however we feel like this is what we're presenting. That's the message we want our listeners to get.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit about the song itself. Yeah, it's representative of you guys, and we talked a little bit about the different influences that are mixed in there and everything. But was all of that, like, was there, like lyrically, was there something that kind of inspired that song, or?
Yeah, so this song, like the main lyric that we represents the song is the lyric, "You weren't the God that made, you weren't the God I made you." So basically, what it is that we, in the music industry, we have so many heroes that we look up to, and oftentimes we kind of make them gods when they're actually just humans like us. And we've worked in the music industry for many years as ghostwriters, as producers, as session musicians. And what we found is that a lot of these people that we look up to, they weren't the God that we made them, because a lot of the people around them, the people who sometimes wrote their music, who played their parts, who produced the music, and even the people who are the executives that found them, these people don't get the same credit that the artist gets.
And I would say radio, like
Yeah,
is
radio
tracking
people
like
as well.
you.
Like you said, like our conversation before the interview started, you are really passionate about helping bands be found, helping people hear new bands. And that's like a key message and motto of your life. But when people talk about bands and successful bands, they're almost never mentioning the people who helped them become famous. People are always like, "Oh, he's who he is because he's an amazing songwriter. He's who he is because he has the voice of God. He's talented, whatever." And it's just overlooks so many things and elements that goes into making a successful band. And we've seen that firsthand working in the music industry in China as well as the US. There's just so many people that go under the radar nobody's ever heard of, and a lot of times they do the hard work. There's ghostwriters out there that wrote music for these people, and they get the credit for it because they're the star. So I think this song was a representation of that. We wanted to have a song that's dedicated to the people who work behind the scenes, such as you and such as so many talented musicians that we've seen in our career. And they just never get the credit because they're not the star. They're not the person that people look up to. Yeah. Even though maybe they should be. A lot of these cases, these are people who are really dedicated in their work. They're extremely talented and they're great musicians. But, so this song for us is a dedication to everyone who works behind the scenes in music. We have the saying that we want to say that people should worship the music and not worship the artist. So in the end, we're in there for the artist. In the end, we're there for the music. And a lot of people, they kind of like get it mixed up. They look at an artist and they say, "Oh, this guy can do no wrong. Like every song he releases is great." It's never the case. Every artist has bad songs. Every artist has bad music. And in a lot of ways, like, we grew up listening to a lot of bands, the classic rock bands and classic older artists. And right now, a lot of them are still playing, but they're clearly not the same as they used to be. And a lot of people, they don't really want to admit that. They want to say like, "Oh, he's still great. He's still as talented as ever," but he's clearly not, or he or she, but they're clearly not. Right. But people don't want to admit it because they don't want to admit.
They don't want to distort their image of their heroes, and they don't want to be honest. And the problem with that, with all these old guys that aren't kicking ass anymore, is that they're making it more difficult for the next generation to rise up, for the next generation of talented musicians to be found, because they're still stuck in that, fame and glory kind of moment. So like, I feel like it's really important for people to acknowledge that and understand that, when people are great, when they're sounding great, you got to applause, but when people aren't, it should be critical. And that's fine. It's fine to criticize your heroes. It's fine to be critical of them. That's how we had great music to begin with, So I have a lot of respect for radio and for critics, even though I know that's not really popular, rock music,
I mean, even execs, if Brian Epstein never found the Beatles, there never be the Beatles, Right. And in Brian Epstein's case, he does get a lot of credit, but there's many other bands where no one ever mentions the manager, the guy who did all the dirty work,
like Peter Grant.
Yeah.
For Zeppelin, a lot of people don't like Sharon, but she was definitely, a key component to Ozzy's success.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like there's so many different components to this. I mean, we still work as producers behind the scenes for a lot of artists, and we do session work as well. And a lot of times we just run into a lot of artists who feel like,
their shit don't stink.
Yeah,
So,
they feel like they're a god, because they're famous and they're successful.
yeah.
But they're clearly,
we'd have to go in there and tune their horribly out of tune vocals to make them sound good, nice and polished, for their fans to continue to feed off their ego, which is like, I don't believe in that. I believe in people who respect their craft, people who don't treat this thing like a, cat and mouse game. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I get that. Well, that's it's pretty insightful. So you guys then, sounds like you've managed to stay pretty busy with music in some way, shape, or form then, even if it's not your own. Working.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously in the modern age, if you want to try to break a band, it's a very expensive endeavor. You got to work. And I know back in the day, a lot of people used to work at McDonald's or some kind of, waiting or some kind of job. They had to work in order to, make a living.
Store.
Or a lot of times they work at record stores, or they work a lot of people work as a roadie or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they get the job as a roadie when the main guy like gets sick or something, and they have to have a replacement.
There's so many drum techs that became the drummer of a band.
Yeah, or guitar techs, like Billy Howardell, for example. But like in our case, like, we were really fortunate that we kind of were always in music. We've always been in music. We were in TV and reality for many years when we were in China, and that allowed us to accumulate a lot of experience working in music. And since a very young age, we started producing our own music. So that's another component. And we were fortunate to be mentored by a lot of really, really good musicians, both in terms of guitar and drum, like Chris said, Carmine Apiece, and a lot of really successful musicians that mentored us when we were kids and gave us good advice. Mm-hmm. And this includes record producers as well that worked with big companies in China. And I think that all of that helped build us where we're in a way where we're just not as, like, a lot of other bands are they're playing music in a band, and that's just all they do, like just their own music. But we kind of had a really broad music experience and music journey, and that includes making music for other people. That includes making music for ourselves. And just like you said, like with this band Posavant, this is basically a combination of everything that we know and everything that we love about music, and it's presented in one product, in one musical experience. Mm-hmm. So, I feel like it would have never been possible for this band if we didn't work in music and we didn't have this vast journey and vast influences that we did have.
Yeah. Right. And you're still young guys, man. So that's
we started so young. I know.
Already.
Yeah, we're still Gen Z.
Well, now with only the two of you as kind of the band, what do you do for a live situation, or do you guys not go out and play live?
Well, we have drummers. We have people we want to play with, and to us, is the main reason is just the two of us right now is because when we write music, it's so particular that it might become complicated if we involve other people, because we have a very interesting push and pull relationship when we write. And if the third person's added in, it might completely mess up the chemistry. So
yeah,
that's the reason why we're like, and again, like, we have this really unique, like, blend of cultures, like we said, the Asian American culture. Right. And we don't know a lot of people that are like us, that can speak the same language. When we talk, we kind of talk in a mix when we talk between ourselves. And a lot of people, when they listen, they can't really understand because it's a mix of Mandarin and English. Uh-huh. And it's just all over the place, and only we can understand each other. So that's another component to it,
Right. Yeah, we're strong believers in conflict in music. We believe like every songwriting duo had some sort of conflict while maintaining respect for each other.
Yeah, trying to find a way to work it out.
Like, I come from a background where I'm like really into the hard rock stuff. So like I love music that's more simple in some ways. And Nick is like a thinker. So like when we work together, we somehow come up with like that alternative and progressive kind of thing. And
Right.
like that's what makes our music very different than others. It seems to me that like, rock music right now, it's so polite. Everybody is like so nice and kind to each other. And I think it's the same thing with their songwriting process. And that's why the music, to me, lacks a bit of edge, lacks a bit of that grit that you hear like on the earlier records, where the songwriting duels or people who were in control, they didn't see eye to eye all the time.
Yeah.
They all wanted to present their philosophy and their ideas.
Oftentimes having serious fights as well.
But that's what makes the best product, because people have to stand by what they believe in. And like obviously we've never fought, but we fight like with our ideas and trying to present something that
Philosophically.
mentally.
Yeah.
Are you two real close in age?
Yeah, I'm 2 years older than Chris. So we were together our entire lives, because when we were in China, we were homeschooled on the internet. So, we've developed a bond that's very rare, even between brothers. I feel like, like we said before, like we have our own language, the way we talk, and music is just another way for us to express that. And in our lives, it's just music all the time. And the amazing thing about it, like Chris said, like we're also so different in the way we approach music.
Yeah.
Like Chris is more of a simplistic in terms of music.
Yeah.
But his approach in terms of production is so unique that I've never run up with someone else that has the same ability as he does, because he's both an amazing guitar player and an amazing drummer. And that's very, very rare in the music industry. And his ability to combine both of these things, like the rhythm and the harmony and the melody and all this stuff together, is so amazing. And my role is sort of different. Like he said, I'm more of a thinker, or sometimes I overthink. And then like
He'd be like, that's too.
Lyricist then, since you're always thinking?
He'd be like,
What was that?
I said, are you the lyricist then, since you're a deeper thinker?
Yeah. Well, Chris, a lot of times, like the way we work is he usually comes up with a pretty well-formed song, and then I kind of go in there and mess it up, is the way I would say. Like I would just try different things. Some things I know that's not going to work, but I just want to try it.
Just the amount of trust,
Yeah.
Ralph, you have to imagine, like me,
someone coming in and like fucking up your song,
giving my baby to Nick, and like sometimes it comes out great. Like
Sometimes
Hamartia.
it doesn't work,
Sometimes it doesn't. It's like it was just stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But that's the beauty of our like partnership. Because like I give him a lot of creative leeway. I'm just like, go make it your own thing, and then like I'll dial it back a bit, because I'm used to listening just bass guitar drums. That's kind of my thing,
Yeah, I'll probably come in with a lot of synths and sound design,
harmonies
and stuff, but
to build upon it.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll change up things that were an original idea. Like I'll throw in, like, I think this song needs a better pre-chorus, it needs a better chorus, and oftentimes we sit on songs for 3 or 4 years where we're constantly trying different melodies because it didn't feel right.
Sure.
And for Hamartia, this song has been like for 2 years, and we finally came up with everything we wanted, and we finally thought it sounded good enough just when we released it. So I think for us, it's always a work in process. I know, right? Like we're the kind of type where some songs, they come fast. I feel like you're very, very well versed in music, and you probably know that like a lot of bands, sometimes one song is like 15 minutes, like a song like Yesterday or something, it just came in a dream or something. A lot of times music is like that. Everything is a perfect harmony, but sometimes a song really needs to be worked out. It takes years in order to get it right.
Yeah.
And, it's just finding the right balance. Not every song has to be like that, because if that's the case, then you're going to be really struggling to release music. And in our case, at least, we have a pretty good system where music comes out really good.
That's good. Well, what's next for you guys? We've got Hamartia.
Yeah, Hamartia. There you go.
That's been out for a little bit now. Are you planning on releasing another single soon?
Yeah, we have 2 more that's already released. It's on Spotify, so if anybody goes to listen to Hamartia, you can hear Untrend, which is the second song we released, and Other Side, which is the third song. and they're all different. They're you can hear us in every song, but they're slightly different in the way you experience each song. So we wanted that's something we wanted to have, and we're going to release another song this month as well. So stay tuned for that. And we're basically going to be releasing a song every month. That's the way we're going to do it. And eventually we hope to release an album as well. That's a bigger experience. It's something we can really like mess around with all the sounds and the storytelling and the whole thing, the whole concept.
I was just going to say, it is kind of a singles world today, but
it is, yeah.
Hearing what you guys have had to say today, I could just see you guys having an album that is like the old school where I grew up, where you listen to it in its entirety in one.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Even right now, whenever we listen to something, we always listen to the album. We don't just listen to one song. Like if we're like in the gym or something, if we're driving, like we're always with the full album on. And on our way driving here, we were just listening to Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And the last drive we had, we listened to their first album. So,
and the one prior to that was The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, prior to that, you
can't listen to The Dark Side of the Moon singles. You got to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's just like an experience.
Yeah, and this is our philosophy for every single band that we listen to. Every music, we want to hear the whole thing. We want to hear the whole album. So. That's just us, but I know a lot of younger people aren't like us. But
I'm going to say for your age group, that is a little bit surprising. I am a whole album guy, obviously.
Amazing, same here. That's the only way to listen to music is the whole album.
Yeah, but I accept that it is a singles world too out there.
It is, yeah. We understand. That's why we're only releasing singles. We understand. We're like old souls in a new world. Like you were talking about like social media and like using CapCut and all that. Like we just recently learned this too. Like we've always been in music so much that we're kind of so new to the social media world. And we've always delved into music and we kind of didn't really want to handle everything else. We felt like that wasn't being authentic to our music by delving into social media and all that. But if you want to make it in the modern world, you have to do it. And we feel like our music deserves to be heard. So we want to use social media and use every tool possible to let people hear our music.
Yeah, you have to. You absolutely have to. And hopefully get out there and play live too.
We play live. We play almost every week.
Still works. Do you?
Oh yeah, we play almost every week. In LA, like we just recently played The Smell, which is a pretty well-known punk rock kind of bar or a live house, and we just recently played South by Southwest as well in Texas.
Nice.
And we have upcoming shows. We'll be announcing those on our Instagram.
Posavant, it's a band you have to hear live.
I would say so too. Like we play our stuff like slightly differently at live. We want to make it really interesting. We want to surprise the people who come to see us.
And not in a bad way. Like I don't dodge any of the high notes in our songs, all the fast licks, they're the same. Like anything you hear on the radio, like anything you hear on Spotify, you'll hear it live, just in a different, not with your earphones, but from like 1,000-watt speakers,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So people should follow you. What's your social media? Is it just Posavant?
Posavant, yeah. Again, this is why making up your own band name comes in handy because you're the only person that has it. So Posavant, Posavant. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Music, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok.
So and your website as well, posavant.com.
Yep. You can find us on our website as well. We put our songs on there. We'll have merch on there. We have our tour dates as well. So, but like Posavant.
All right. Well, let's crank up the track. Hearing this track, what do you hope? If somebody's just discovering you right now, just seeing us having this conversation, and are hearing Hamartia for the first time, what would you like somebody to take away from hearing the song for the first time?
Well, I think I'd want them to feel like, now this is the next big thing. This is something that's completely different from what's on mainstream radio, and you heard it here first at RadioBypass. And thanks to DJs like Ralph, he's introducing the younger audience to music that's really different, and the music that's going to be we're going to be the forefathers of Alternaprog. So that's what I want them to take.
All right. I like it. Well, I hope everybody does. And yeah, that's my mission. Celebrating rock past, present, and future is one of my little things that I like to say.
That's beautiful.
Because it's all important, especially the future. And I'm so glad whenever I come across young folks like yourself, and luckily you're not the only young ones creating rock and roll music of my style. And I'm so thankful for that, because for many years, I thought for sure when my generation dies off, that's the end of this kind of music. But I'm seeing a lot of young guys getting into it and wanting to play instruments again and not just making sounds on a computer. So it's really cool. Yeah. So thank you guys for having that interest.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to be on a side of authentic and real music, and we're going to do everything we can to stay true to our art. And again, it's a very tough journey, and we're willing to meet whatever comes, So we just want anybody who hears this podcast as well, we just want you to listen to our music and feel like it's something you've never heard before.
And if you're an established artist, take us out on tour.
Yeah. Yes, that would be great.
That is how every single band that I love became successful.
Yeah, for sure.
Every single one.
I think before we started recording, you mentioned that you like Judas Priest a lot.
Totally.
And, that's how I first started seeing Judas Priest when I was young, was as an opener, not as the headliner,
Yeah.
A couple of years later, then they were the headliner.
So AC/DC, Van Halen, Rush, they all opened for Kiss.
Yep, exactly.
So, even really rare thing, John Cougar Mellencamp once opened for Rainbow. My dad told me that didn't go out well, but that was the first time he heard of John Mellencamp.
Right.
So, people really have to support, indie artists and support music. That's good. I'm not saying they should take anybody out on tour. You have to be good first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, let's let the music do the talking. We've been talking with Nick and Chris from Posavant. I will always say this correctly from now on. Really glad to meet you guys. To me, hearing you today, I can tell your sincerity in what you're creating, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for stopping by Radio Bypass and giving us a chance to get to know more about the band.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you,
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. All right, everybody. Turn this up a little bit more. Go follow these guys on social media. Check out posavant.com. Learn more about these guys. But now, if you didn't catch the song when we played it on the music show a couple of weeks ago, turn things up a little bit louder now. Here comes Hamartia, pronounced correctly. Crank it up.